there. All right, we are going to go live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to nerdwide.com's weekly podcast titled Hero Cravings: The Multiverse, where we cover and break down all Marvel TV shows, Gotham, Black Lightning, and Krypton, episode by episode for you, the listener. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers.
Hola, mi amigos.
Quick housekeeping before we get into this action-packed episode. Don't forget to share, rate, review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use. Don't forget we are officially on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to us there at youtube.com/nerdwide. We put every single one of our Hero Cravings episode on there. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget that Chris recaps Blacklist and Blind Spot at purefandom.com, so make sure you check out all his weekly recaps there.
Hey, can I real quick, can I tell you what inspired my greeting for this episode?
You should.
So I went to watch Krypton.
Yeah.
And apparently I had accidentally hit the Spanish language button on my remote.
So you listened to the episode in Spanish?
I waited like the first 5 minutes. I was like, okay, I can't believe that this is happening. How did it work?
Help, something's wrong.
Yeah. So it was interesting, though.
Oh, man. This is our 28th official episode. We're going to give you a quick recap of how this is going to go down. Each week we go through all the Multiverse TV episodes in order as they air. We're going to bring you our thoughts and reactions to every single one of those episodes. That being said, we're going to jump into it with what is, and forever will be, the most action-packed episode probably of Black Lightning, episode 12, The Resurrection and the Light, The Book of Pain. I gotta take a breather after those titles. We see our first look at Tobias, and we found out why he has been recovering from his injuries from Black Lightning. If you remember 3 or 4 episodes ago, Black Lightning hit him with a blast, right in the center of his chest. We see his wounds are healing, not quite all the way healed, but they are healing. Surprise, surprise, Tobias is working with Martin Proctor of the ASA. And we see Khalil walk into the ASA, and yes, you heard me correctly, walk into the ASA. And he grew dreads. Very weird. We get answers to all of that later. We found out that he could walk because he has got a spinal implant, so he no longer has his spine. It's like a metal spine that's helping him walk, and it does some little things. We'll share a little bit later on. We see that Lynn seduces Jeff, and Jeff uses his powers for erotic things, is what I'm going to say. I'm going to try and keep this PG-13, guys. We see, so that's a different way to use his powers, and they, of course, did not tell their daughters about what is going down, obviously. I wouldn't want to be told that either. Exactly. And I feel like we have seen, with this scene, we've seen Jeff, the happiest we've seen him in a long time. But with everything that's going on. But, that happiness is quickly abated. We see Jeff, it looks like he's driving to school on his way to work. And he sees Khalil just walking on the streets. And so he stops. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He says, Khalil? And they start talking and everything. We found out that Khalil harbors some resentment for Jeff. And he's very angry with him because he feels like Principal Pierce abandoned him in his time of need. And he also feels like he restricted Jennifer from seeing him as well. But we do, Jeff being the smart guy he is, and of course being Black Lightning, he realizes that Khalil is being manipulated and taken advantage of by somebody, and he's pretty sure it's the ASA somehow, some way, and of course it is. So we do some research. Well, and Anissa, this whole episode, she was more of a kind of behind the scenes sidekick, more so than anything this episode. She was doing some research, and over the past several years, she found out that 43 kids have been missing. So we've got 43 kids who are no idea what's going on. And of course, we had one die. Was it this episode that one of the kids died, or was it last episode?
Last episode.
Yeah, so we've got technically 42 of them should still be alive. And then we see Khalil and Jennifer meet up for the first time, which is, of course, their callback at the beginning of the season at their usual spot, which is on top of their old house. And Khalil was like, I've been waiting here an hour. Why don't y'all live here anymore? And she goes, oh, yeah, it's infested with, bugs. Um, and of course, we see Khalil's metal spine. He shows it to Jennifer, and Jennifer is still, very weirded out by Khalil once everything is going on. We finally get the answer to the dreads question. Apparently, the pills that he's been taking for regeneration makes his hair grow really, really, really fast, which he should have like a good beard by now. But he said he decided to keep the dreads. Whatever. It's only been, 2 months,
Yeah.
technically, since we've seen Khalil, so I don't know. He tries to kiss Jen, but of course she turns him down. Khalil had a nice anger outbreak, and he jumps off the roof and lands perfectly fine. That gives us a little bit of a glimpse into his powers. Um, we see Tobias finally gets in contact with Lala, and it scares the bejesus out of Lala just by hearing his voice.
Yeah.
That was very, very weird scene, but I'm glad to see this finally going down. Which of course we got more answers to later this episode. But we see villain Khalil attacking Garfield because Tobias says we need to draw Black Lightning out. And what's the best way to draw him out but attacking innocent people? I mean, hello, that's like villainy 101. Come on. We see that Khalil has super strength and some kind of dart wrist guns on his wrist that like shoots some sort of darts that knock people out. I don't know if it kills people or if it's like filled with green light or what, but there's definitely something in his little serum he's using. We see a nice little fight scene between Thunder and Cyanide, and I don't know, Chris, if you saw this for like the quick glimpse it showed us,
Mm-hmm.
but she knocks her across the school room. Thunder does, and we see Cyanide has an injury, but it looked like she had scales underneath her skin.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
Dude,
And
I don't know what that was. That was weird.
yeah, a little bit.
Hopefully we get some answers to that. We didn't get anything this episode. Tobias and Black Lightning finally duke it out man to man. Tobias, makes a way where Black Lightning can't use his powers anymore, so they just fight super strength to super strength. Meanwhile, we find out that Cyanide figures out how Anissa's powers work. She apparently is much smarter than I am, the viewer, because I had no idea how her powers worked. So, if you were like me, which most people shouldn't be, so when Thunder takes in a breath, that's when she gets her super strength, her invincibility, and things like that. But what I didn't realize is once she lets go of that breath, her powers are gone. It's like, oh, okay.
Right.
I guess that makes sense. Thanks, Cyanide. I guess you're a good assassin for something.
So here's a question.
Uh-huh.
If you want to bring down Thunder, do you get her into a room where there's a poisonous gas? And then if she inhales it, is she still... do her powers like
I don't think it still
basically
works.
nullify it?
Right.
Or by breathing it in, is she as vulnerable as anybody else?
Listen, Chris, you're thinking too far ahead, and you're thinking way too
I-
hard for this show.
I can't help. I can't help.
I swear, you're a mysterious CW writer, and you're not telling anybody. We see Khalil. He runs and jumps and punches Black Lightning straight in the chest, and it killed him. I am not, saying, figuratively. I am saying literally killed Black Lightning. Black Lightning was dead. Well, is dead. Tobias gets pissed off because their orders were to bring him in alive and not dead. And so Tobias gets very, ticked off at Khalil, but it is what it is. And then they run away with Cyanide. And then Jennifer and Thunder find Black Lightning just laying in the middle of the hall dead. Very touching scene between the two daughters and Black Lightning. They tried to, do CPR and bring him back. Nothing worked. And then, so Jennifer uses her powers, and it shocked Black Lightning back. And he is back alive thanks to Jennifer. Now, this throws my little fire theory because we were assuming I was assuming her powers were like fire related, but it looks like it's actually gonna be lightning, just like Black Lightning, and it makes sense with Anissa telling Jennifer her powers are just like her dad. Again, probably should have caught on to that, just didn't. So we hear, and the ASA hears throughout, the grapevine that Black Lightning is dead, and they tell the rest of the employees to find Thunder, dead or alive. They're gonna fix everything. And then we find out that Lala walks into where Tobias is at his desk, and Lala pulls a gun on him. They have this big, argument scene, and Tobias goes, "The devil deals the cards." And Lala sits down, calms down, and is very, very, very obedient. So I'm assuming this is like a Winter Soldier catchphrase, where I'm of course referring to Marvel's, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where like they say a phrase and it makes mind control over people. I think that's exactly what it is. What's going on here? But I think we finally got our answer. Who brought Lala back to life? I'm pretty sure it's Tobias. Not so much Lady Eve. I don't know.
Well, probably with Lady Eve's help.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a combination between all of the ASA and everything like that, But early numbers for this episode: 0.5 rating, which is pretty steady. 1.54 million viewers, which is up 0.04. Next episode is titled Shadow of Death, The Book of War, which is, of course, the season finale of Black Lightning, which is next week. Not ready to see the show end, but like all good things, everything comes to an end.
Yeah, and hopefully next year they'll find a way to have more concise episode titles.
Don't hold your breath, Chris.
The titles are almost as long as the recaps. I mean, it's just Really?
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. It's probably just some way they decided they want to do it. So
yeah. We'll see. And I would love to see a cameo of the writer of Black Lightning in this as well. I follow him on Twitter. I already forgot his name. I feel really bad right now, but
yeah, I mean, you just
Tony Isabella. There we go. I remembered it. But we'll see. So next week, season finale. But of course, our show must go on. We've got Krypton episode 4, The Word of Rao. This is a very good episode. We see some new people, a new group. They're in the Sagittari uniform. I suspect these people, Chris, are part of Black Zero. We don't really get a lot of answers at the beginning of this. We see that Lyda has to report and answer for her actions and her disobedience from the initiative last week. We find out that Lyda is actually a scapegoat, and she is arrested, essentially from the voice of Rao. Suggestion. He says, there needs to be a scapegoat and some consequences for what happened last week in the failure, because the voice of Rao does not fail. We see Seg is talking to Nyssa. He's trying to free Lyda from her, immediate execution because she is branded a traitor. Seg finally tells Nyssa that he loves Lyda and that's why he needs her help to free her. And then Seg gets kidnapped by an unknown party, which is the party from the beginning of the episode. No idea who these people are. We see that Lyda's mother wants Lyda to give up Seg because she believes that Seg is the problem and the reason of this treachery and everything that's going on. Lyda's obviously doesn't know that it's not the problem. And then Nyssa pays Lyda a visit during this conversation. She's like, who sent you here? Or will you just come here to gloat? She goes, actually, no, Seg told me to come here and I'm doing this for him. Which is very weird to me because Nyssa and Seg's relationship's kind of odd. And the fact that Nyssa is trying to appease Seg this way, especially just being after told that he loves another woman. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And then we see Seg strapped down to a interrogation chair, and he gets a bug that crawls up his nose and goes throughout his insides and everything. Very cringy. I don't like stuff like that. Very good acting from Cameron at Cuff's, vantage point. Because obviously there's nothing inside of his body or going up his nose. I would hope not.
How do you know?
I just hope not, man. We find out that Nyssa and Seg, they are in fact, because you remember, I think was it the first episode where they were, is it the first or second? They planted their palms on that thing. They don't have babies the normal way anymore. So, but they are in fact having a child, and their child is named Corvex. Now, I didn't do any research on this, Chris. I don't know if you did either, but that name is very familiar for some reason to me. But, obviously, Superman's name is not Vex at the end of it, so I don't know if we see something happen. I don't know, because we get Kal-El, but we don't get Kor-El, so I don't know what happens. But this unknown party that is torturing Seg knows about Brainiac, and they want to know that the reason they're torturing Seg is they want to know what they know about what he knows about Brainiac. And then they say that they are not a part of Black Zero; they're a part of trying to save Krypton. So. I feel like we're trying to throw way too many parties into the equation.
Yeah, I mean, we've already been talking this, and this is what, episode 4?
Yep.
And we've already been complaining, like, we don't know anything pertinent about Black Zero.
Right.
And now you're already introducing seemingly another group into the mix. Fill us in on Black Zero, and then if you want to show us somebody else do it. But I don't know, this is kind of the point where that aspect of this is starting to get a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that we've only got 6 more episodes.
Well, you know who this mysterious character, he doesn't have a name on the show, but you know who the actor is, don't you?
I'm trying to picture him.
He is in one of our Arrowverse shows, or was in one of our Arrowverse shows. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Mm-hmm. Colin Salmon. He was Walter Steele in Arrow. He was the lover of his mom. So
yep,
it's we finally found his way to another superhero show. But of course, we never get a name or an organization or what these people are. We Kim, which is Seg's best friend, tells Rom's daughter, Ona is the girl's name, the truth and tells her that he is going to watch over her. He tells Ona that her mother's dead and is not coming back, and that he's going to watch over her. He's going to be the good Uncle Kim. We see the Vex, we finally get their agenda. Their agenda is they're trying to overthrow the voice of Rao and give the city back to the people. Which begs the question to me, Chris, are the Vex Black Zero? Because they're trying to overthrow Rao.
It could be.
So that's just my interpretation of all this. We see that Seg brokers a deal with the unknown party. The deal is to break Lyta out of jail, and he will take them to the Century, which was Rome. I always get those mixed up. We see that Ona becomes a servant of Rao because she's always had this little statue that she's carried with her since the very beginning we've seen her. She very much believes in this religion of Rao, and we see her actually become one because she gives that statue to Rao to keep and show. It's because during this whole episode, was it the Nova Festival, which is basically just like a rebirth, which is essentially Easter, is what I kind of. If I was going to relate to our time and everything. So we see that, and Ona becomes a servant of Rao. She gets the garb and everything like that. And then Rom officially dies, but not before giving a warning that stated, you have to stop Ona. I had no idea what that was about until the very end of the episode. We see Seg breaks out of captivity, and he was actually held, it looked like on the outskirts of the planet, not inside the city of Kandor.
Right. Yeah, out there, possibly near where the Fortress of Solitude is.
Right. I mean, it all looks the same. I don't see any landmarks out there. And then we finally see the voice of Rao's face this episode. But,
well, we got a glimpse.
Yeah, we got a glimpse. We really don't know if he's anything important as far as that. But he gets taken over by the Century. Now, Chris, you might be wondering, where did the Century come from? And what does, Rom's mean to... Adam. Well, the Century was hidden inside of Ona's figure that she gives Rao. So
Uh-huh.
blows my mind. So Rao, the voice of Rao, is now a Sentry. Mic drop. What an episode.
And now there's even more reason to overthrow the voice of Brow.
Yep, because they're going to bring Brainiac into the mix. Oh man, early numbers for this one: 0.3 rating, which is steady. 0.95 million viewers, which is down 0.08. It is the lowest rated yet in overnights. Doesn't mean anything. We still haven't really found our niche audience, I want to say, Chris. We're next week will be halfway through the season, so I'm curious to see what we see then. And then next episode is the House of Zod, which is going to be very interesting because it's obviously going to focus on Lyta and her mother. Next episode we have was probably going to be the bulk of the show because it was such a good show. It is Gotham, Season 4, Episode 18, titled That's Entertainment. I decided, when I was watching this episode, to not break it down between heroes and villains because everything meshed together really a lot. So we'll just do a recap as we do our other shows for this episode. The Horribles kidnap the leaders of the city, including the mayor and commissioner, during one of the little meetings or whatever, the little wealthy meeting. We find out that it is Bruce's birthday, and Alfred gives him a key to a brand new Mustang that is bulletproof. So what could he want but a matte black Mustang that is bulletproof? It's to me, I was reading a bunch of all the subreddits on Gotham and everything, and a lot of things that stuck out on this scene. One, this potentially is like the early Batmobile,
Right.
and then two, we finally figure out how old Bruce is now. And Chris, I know they didn't say it during this episode, but everyone went back and counted the candles on the cake. And Bruce is officially 18 years old during this timeline.
There you go.
So now we don't have to wonder how, I'm assuming Batman is born in the 20s of, 20s, early 30s of Bruce's life. But we'll see. Which I thought was very cool because we've all been wondering how old he is, and now we know because we finally got a birthday scene. And it was very touching between Alfred and Bruce. I love their scenes together. Anyways, but we see that Oswald calls Gordon up and tells him what is going on with Jerome. He doesn't want his city being taken over by a lunatic. We kind of figured that to begin with. But he does tell Gordon what's going on. Jerome and co. hijack a rock concert and strap bombs to the leaders of the cities that they've kidnapped earlier and threatens to blow them up if Gordon doesn't help him. That was very fun.
Did you notice when the first time they come back and Jerome and his guys are just kind of up there jamming, that they're playing the tune to the 1960s Batman show?
I did not. Did they? Were they really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be our only Batman reference we get from previous productions. So keep that in mind, because I don't know if you noticed that. But I'll bring it up here later on throughout the episode. But that's pretty cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, do that.
We found out that Barb is enjoying her role as Demon's Head, and she is having gang members killed by the League without even doing anything. And I just thought that was a fun little scene. That's why I put it in there, because Tabitha's having a very big problem with this, and she was like, you know what, just kill him. And then all these ninja stars just come out from nowhere and just kill all these gang members. And very, very, very Gotham and Joker reference. We see the commissioner gets his head blown off because Gordon didn't do what he was told. And that was like, that is gruesome. And I texted Charlie originally from comicbook.com, and I said that was probably one of the most gruesome death I've seen on this show since the Wrecking Ball incident from several episodes ago. Was it? No, it was last episode. That's several episodes. we see Bruce and Alfred continue Bruce's birthday with a birthday cake, like I was saying earlier. And we see Selena to show up for his birthday, and of course we see a nice little Selena and Bruce time eating some cake and hanging out. Um, Jerome kills another person by blowing his head off. I'm telling you, these are gruesome. It was just awesome when he said, "Oh, pop," and his just head blown off. We found out that Raish has owned a house with a door in Gotham for as long as this city has been around, and Barb is the only one able to open this door using her little glowing fist. We see in that room that she opens the door at that it is an extremely old painting of Barbara and Raish. And so Barbara gets this big head, not literally, but figuratively, that she, is reincarnated to do this role and everything. She takes it very literally. But before we get back to her, we see the Horribles knew about Penguin going to Gordon, and so they steal a blimp and they hide Penguin on it with handcuffs, of course. And this blimp has been stolen. Tetch, hijacks the captain, hypnotizes him. This blimp has all of the purple gas we saw last episode on it, like a whole bunch of it. And we see Gordon shoots Jerome, but not fatally. We find out, I didn't even put any of this in here. Back it up quite a bit before Gordon shoots Jerome. Gordon goes to Bruce and says, Jerome wants 2 people at his concert. There's 2 chairs he wants. Jeremiah, his brother, and he wants you. We see Alfred's like, absolutely not. And then Bruce is like, I'm going to go do this. If it's a chance to save these people, I have to do this. They come up with a plan with Lucius Fox with the little emitter that cancels a signal between the transponder and the bomb that Jerome's blowing up. But before we go to the concert, we go with Bruce, Gordon, Lucius, and Jeremiah at Jeremiah's little hideout house. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? I'm not going to go be there just so Jerome can kill me. And Bruce, talks to him about his architect and things like that. He says, you could do a lot of good for this city. Which in turns, Jeremiah's like, okay, I'll go help. Then, of course, Gordon shoots Jerome, but not fatally. Gordon then shoots Jerome again while he's on top of this roof because everyone splits apart, panics. Jerome, is running and limping off. Gordon follows him on top of a rooftop, and the Jerome is standing on the ledge of the roof with a walkie-talkie to the I was assumed the captain of the blimp that Penguin's on.
Right. Yeah.
So Gordon shoots Jerome's wrist, and it took the walkie-talkie out of his hand, and we see Jerome fall backwards. So we assume Jerome is dead. No, he's hanging onto a pole, and we have a lot of dialogue between Gordon and Jerome here. He tells Gordon that he's going to outlive him using very similar quotes to the Dark Knight movies to Captain Gordon. He said, I'm just an idea. I'm not a real person. That's how I'm going to outlive you. It's how I can always win. He says, because you follow the rules, and to me, there are no rules. Which, a lot of these were direct quotes from the Dark Knight movies. And I thought that was phenomenal. And then, of course, Jerome lets go and falls to his death, and Jerome is finally dead. So
for the second time,
we don't see. I'm assuming we know he's dead for good. We don't ever actually know because we don't. No one ever stays dead on Gotham. Oh man. So Bruce, while they're standing over Jerome's dead, Bruce offers Jeremiah a grant to continue his work for the betterment of the city of Gotham. Jeremiah, of course, accepts this, and we go over to Barbara. We see Tabitha questioning Barbara's methods and everything. She goes, "You don't need this," and she goes, "Yes, I do," and I don't need you anymore. And so she throws Tabitha out on the street, and then she gets beat up by the League of Assassins. And then, as the League leaves her lying in the street, we found the new mysterious allies, which they say they are the real members of the League and not these other people. And then the very last scene we see here is Jeremiah in his bunker looking over all his stuff, and he sees a gift on the table, and it says from Bruce Wayne. So of course he thinks it's a cool present for accepting this grant and everything. But nope, it's a Jack in the Box, and Jeremiah gets hit with that special laughing gas as Jerome is talking to him through the gas, and he was like, I'm dead, but I told you I was going to make you crazy, and it's your time to bring out your inner person. And thus, the Joker is born.
Yes.
Oh,
it was cool. Jerome tells him in that recording inside the Jack in the Box that this is a special mixture.
Yeah, just made for him.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he gets pasty white, and he gets that iconic Joker grin all the way up to his cheekbones. And that is it for this episode. And we had early numbers, 0.7 rating, which is steady. 2.37 million viewers, which is down 0.16, which I would have expected more due to what this episode was being led up to and everything. But still great numbers.
I think the DVR on this episode is gonna be pretty high.
Yeah, it's gonna skyrocket it. And I'm curious to see with at the end of the season what we got going on. The next episode is titled "To Our Deaths and Beyond." I have no idea, unless it's talking about the ideology of Jerome.
It's possible. I'm thinking that one thing we're gonna get in the next episode that we didn't get this episode is some Grundy.
Mm-hmm. Didn't get any Riddler or Lee Tompkins either.
Yeah, I'm assuming
because she was on Arrowverse. So
I'm assuming Tabitha will go track down Butch.
Mm-hmm.
Butch, Grundy, whatever you want to call him now, and they'll unite.
I wonder, do you think we're gonna see more Joker, or are we gonna let this, or just let that be? And I was reading a lot on the Gotham subreddit that if you think about it, because I had a problem last week, and I was wondering if we would ever get to the true story between Jerome and Jeremiah, who was telling the truth, what really went down and stuff like that. And they were like, we're never gonna get the answer to that. I got to thinking, I was like, that makes sense. We never know the Joker's real history, do we?
No.
So who knows? It's just crazy to me.
I could see them bringing him back this very next episode. I haven't seen any previews.
Me either.
But I could also see them just saving it till the last couple of episodes of the season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, this was already episode 18, so
was that 4 left?
I mean, they could very easily give him an episode off.
Mm-hmm.
And then start really kind of building back. Because right now, of course, no one else knows what's happened to him. And
we didn't see his little assistant this episode either. Echo. We didn't see her this episode.
We didn't, and I wonder if we will see her become. There is an Echo in the comic books,
right?
But a lot of people theorized when we saw her last week that she was going to be Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that was Charlie's theory too.
And I wonder if we'll work toward that before the season's over, or if they'll build up to it.
Right. I don't know. That'd be. I don't know. I love this show, and like I've said before, I love what they're doing with it this season. Of course, this still has not been renewed, but we probably won't know anything until May. Our next show is, of course, our last one. And it is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 517, titled The Honeymoon. We see Ruby going to the same coordinates as Coulson and Talbot. From last episode, we see that Quake finally gets to Coulson and Talbot, and they rescue him from Ruby. Deke gets shot from General Hale. He was ordered by Daisy to go back and protect General Hale and Coulson while they get on the Zephyr. He, of course, wanted to protect Daisy, so he kind of stood back and let them fight. And as Daisy knocks Ruby out, he kind of stands over her with a gun. And, of course, General Hale comes out and shoots him. Meanwhile, we see the Invincible 3 raiding a Hydra base, as is their plan. didn't know much about this Hydra base at first. Didn't really know much about it afterwards. But they're, of course, on their little "we're invincible, we can't be killed" thing. Whatever. There's plot holes there that we'll talk about later. We see that Ruby is on house arrest because she disobeyed her mother's orders, and her room has been redecorated. There's no posters of Quake.
Well,
It's
yeah, it's been de-decorated,
yeah,
really.
de-decorated. That's just basic. Everything's so basic in there. We go back to the Invincible 3. We see that Anton is at the Hydra base. And I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
I love that character. We see, we go back to the lighthouse, and with Simmons gone, Mac has to do surgery on Deke because they don't have any other doctors. And which, is obviously going to play a big part into the next couple of episodes. But that's you think this big of a team now, we've got other agents here, we should be training other doctors or recruiting doctors.
And I'll leave this for you to kind of get to in a minute, but the surgery leads to a pretty humorous scene where there's another small reveal.
Did I have that written down? I'm trying to think of what it is myself.
It's not in your notes. You want me to just go ahead and touch on it?
Yeah.
So as Deke comes out of the surgery,
that reveal.
yeah,
yeah, he comes out of the surgery and reveals to the one agent, I always forget her name, and Mac, that he likes Daisy and he wants to move his mouth while she moves her mouth.
But only if she wants to.
Yeah, only if she wants to.
It's more fun that way.
God, no, Deke is so funny. He was like all coked up on these pain medicines, and Mac, Agent Piper's her name, as he's doing this, they're kind of laughing and just looking at each other, and of course they knock him out, but on a moment too soon, Daisy comes in and talks to them. So we also get a scene while the surgery's going down that May confesses her love to Agent Coulson and tells him that he's being way too irrational, that he's not thinking about everybody else, he's only thinking about himself with the way he's acting. She's very very hurt from his actions of just going with General Hale off of the Zephyr. But we finally figure out May's feelings towards him, like it's out loud and it's not just hinted at.
Right.
Very good scene between the two. And she said, after she said it, I thought that would shut you up, and she walks away. So the Invincible 3 find the chamber that at this Hydra base, and to me it looks just like the Captain America chamber. I'm not sure that it is, but it looks very, very, very similar. And of course, it's the machine that makes the World Killer, or Destroyer of Worlds. So we'll see what happens. Ruby traps her mother in her very de-decorated room, and Von Strucker and Ruby escape the facility with the gravitonium. They know where the device is because Von Strucker knows how to make it work now. We find out that Fitz and Simmons have a rule to never leave each other alone again. We find out that Yo-Yo can't use her arms correctly because when she uses her super speed, it sends all of the electrical impulses at once, and it puts her in very, very, very much pain. So Yo-Yo kind of escapes for a second, and we see Fitz and Simmons, and of course, like I just said, they have a rule that they never leave each other alone again. So they have this shootout with all the Hydra bots. We see Anton and Yo-Yo have a pretty cool fight scene with no superpowers. Yo-Yo throws Anton through a window and finds out that he was the one actually controlling all these Hydra bots because she took a part out of his chest. Go ahead.
She sees his chest open up,
yeah,
and realizes that he's a machine. But then when she throws him out the window, she lands on top of him.
Right.
And where his head hit the pavement, some of his brains were hanging out.
Right.
So I think Anton's finally done unless they scrape him up and put some AI in his head.
Yeah. Yeah, so I imagine those Hydra bots are done. Was he like controlling all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so even the ones with General Hale and stuff like that. But he's not the only Anton. that that we know of, because his brain is still being held hostage by Hale. Um,
Well, but for like I said, his brain came out of his head. So was that the real Anton?
right. So I mean, that's the question. Um, then we see Ruby and Von Strucker make it to the chamber that and hold Fitz and Simmons hostage. Fitz broke apart the main component that works this thing, and it was not the. Of course, Von Strucker realized that they need that part. That's why they hold him hostage. They said, "You're going to fix this." Um, but my big thing is this whole Invincible 3 nonsense gets a little old, because what's going to happen, I'm going to let you know right now, is that they're going to think they're invincible and they're going to change time somehow and not realize it. And then one of them's going to get killed. One of the three. That's
Yeah,
just how I'm calling it.
yeah, and I don't know that it'll be. I think it'll end up being Yo-Yo,
Yeah.
because I just don't think that they would. I don't think that they would kill off either Fitz or Simmons.
I don't think they could because of Deke either. And I don't know how long we're going to keep Deke on part of the show.
Right.
But and then we find out that Talbot is being mind controlled by Hydra, because he tried calling his wife and son, and one of the members of Hydra was sitting there with his wife, which his wife is teary eyed, but she gives this passphrase, much like we've seen earlier in Black Lightning, and Talbot complies, and that's gonna be a big thing because now they have a mind controlled Talbot in the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's very, very odd too that this seems to happen quite a bit, and you don't realize it until
until
you're
you just talk about these shows every week.
right. But two or three shows that are in no way related will have the same plot device
Right.
in a week.
That's just
Is it-
it's a little odd. Very, very odd. But you can see how these shows are written, I guess, and what
Yeah.
keeps the viewers. Early numbers 0.4 rating, which is down 0.1. 1.96 million viewers, which is down 0.08. And next episode is titled All Roads Lead. ... I don't know what they lead to,
Uh,
but all roads lead, Chris.
well, the old saying is all roads lead home.
Ooh.
So,
Ooh, Chris. That's a good one. Um, Chris, it is time for our fan favorite segment of the week titled Douche Canoe. Who holds the honor of Douche Canoe of the Week for Hero Cravings episode 28?
our douche canoe champion of the week is Khalil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
What a douche.
Yeah, he's just going against everything he once knew. But
And it's not even that, but we found out in the episode that his mom still thinks he's in California.
right, he didn't even tell his mom.
No.
Come on, dude. And then getting all mad because Jennifer didn't want to kiss you. Please. I wouldn't want to kiss you with your dreads either, Khalil.
Right.
Chris, who holds the honor of our new segment, Hero of the Week?
Jennifer.
Ooh, that's a first for her.
Yeah. Well, when you bring your father back to life with your powers.
Yeah, I think they'll do it.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what was your favorite episode this week?
I had to go with Gotham.
Yeah, that was mine as well. I feel like with everything that's happened over the past several episodes of Jerome and everything, we got great closure. We got great new beginnings. I loved getting Bruce's actual age this episode. I think we're gonna have a lot more League of Assassins centric episodes coming up soon. And it's just I don't know, Chris. It bothers me as such an Iron Man lover to give Gotham this much praise because I hate Batman, but
You don't really though.
I don't really.
One thing I kind of noticed with the League storyline. I wonder if the way that this is going to start wrapping up is the League's going to come in, this new supposedly real members of the League that met up with Tabitha are going to go after Barbara and her people.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon's going to have to come in and save the day, right? You know,
Right.
he's going to get pulled into the middle of it somehow. And I wonder if through that he and Barbara reconnect. Because we know a big part of the Batman universe is that Jim Gordon's daughter, Barbara, becomes Batgirl.
Yep. And then the
So,
Oracle.
yeah. So at some point, you figure these two have to get together.
Right. I just.
Because she's got to be born pretty soon. Because I don't think she's that far behind Batman
right.
as far as
Well, she is around Dick Grayson's age, who becomes Robin and then becomes Nightwing. Um, so I'm curious to see how
well
they're
then
going to do that.
yeah they'll have to work her in soon if they stick with that because we've already seen the Flying Graysons.
Yeah. So
So
they're all gonna have kids sometime soon. Um, well, I mean you got anything else for this week, Chris?
not really. Next week, as you've already said, we get the finale for Black Lightning, so we'll be
It's
down to
going to be good.
Krypton.
It's going to be so good.
Krypton, Gotham, and Agents of Shield will be all that we talk about
Yeah,
after that.
we'll have
So,
turn back to
um,
like our normal time ish.
and I think at some point we've talked about we will be doing a kind of wrap up on the season,
Yeah.
um, for a lot of these shows, and kind of, especially once we find out if any of these others get renewed.
Hopefully soon, Chris. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, so far all that we know about are the CW shows and The Gifted.
Yeah,
We don't know about anything else. So,
they need to get on it. They need to start listening. We want it. Um, well, guys, I mean that's it for this week. So just make sure you review us on all of your favorite podcasting services. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and share around on all your favorite social media platforms. Speaking of social media, you can follow NerdWide on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes, and you can follow the man himself, Mr. Rivers, at MavTN7. If you do follow us, make sure you do tweet at us. Let us know where you come from, what we can improve on the show, etc., etc., etc. And as always, I'm your host Tyler Haynes, and I with the man himself, Chris Rivers, and we cannot wait to share our thoughts with you next week.
see you, everybody.